Have you ever felt guilty just because you didn't feel loved, especially by the one who was supposed to love you unconditionally, your mother? Society tells us that a mother's love is sacred, instinctual, something essential to everyone's life. But what happens when the very first hand to touch you fills you with fear? When the first gaze you meet isn't welcoming, but instead is filled with expectation control, or worse, indifference? This is not a rare story. It is the truth of millions of people who grew up with emptiness inside, yet carried the guilt that they were somehow wrong, that they were too sensitive, or that they should be grateful. Carl Jung called this the mother complex, an unconscious pattern in which the mother is not just a real person, but a living archetype in the psyche. And that archetype has two faces. On one side, Demeter, the nurturing, loving, protective mother. On the other, Hera, the controlling, envious mother who demands her child live out her ideals. If the mother in your real life wounded you through criticism, absence, or conditional love, then the archetypal image of the mother inside you becomes distorted. And from that place, you begin to live not as yourself, but as someone constantly asking for permission to exist. I once met a woman who never felt good enough. Even though she had become a doctor, whenever she failed, she didn't hear her own voice. She heard her mother's, "After everything I've sacrificed for you, this is how you repay me." You see, the mother wound doesn't just live in memories. It lives in the voice inside your head, in the anxiety that comes with love, in the way you shrink yourself to avoid rejection, in the way you try to please everyone and call it kindness. But Jung pointed to another path. You don't need your mother to change. You need to change your relationship with the image of her in your mind. You can redraw that image consciously. You can transform Hera into Gaia, a limited but compassionate mother. You can step out of the cycle of repetition and begin to love from a place that no longer hurts. In this video, I'll walk with you into the hidden types of mother wounds you might be carrying without even knowing, how they affect your attachment, your ability to love, your sense of trust, and your self-image. Healing techniques from depth psychology and symbolic therapy, such as visualizing archetypes, the empty chair, and therapeutic letter writing. And most importantly, how to distinguish between your real mother and the internal mother so you can begin the journey of liberating your true self. This is not just about forgiveness. This is about restoring wholeness to yourself, the self that was once lost in the effort to earn your mother's love. You can be the one who ends this generational cycle, so it doesn't pass down to your own children or those you love. And as Jung said, that's not selfishness. That is the most sacred act of an awakened individual. If any part of this message touched something inside you, leave just a single dot in the comments to let me know that you are no longer walking this path alone. The mother's wound and the darkness within her. We often think that for something to be called a wound, it has to be obvious. But the deepest hurts usually don't bleed. They grow silently inside like a nameless hunger, a cry that is never answered. The mother wound doesn't always come from violence or abandonment. Sometimes it comes wrapped in sweetness. I do everything for you. You have to try harder so mommy won't be sad. Don't disappoint me. And so the child learns to play a role, the good child, the obedient one. But deep inside lives a hunger to be seen, to be loved simply for being. Carl Jung once said, "What is not made conscious will be lived as fate." When a child is not truly loved, they cannot face the pain of realizing, "My mother didn't love me in the right way." That truth is too painful. So the child turns inward and blames themselves. I'm not good enough, not pretty enough, not worthy. And thus the persona is born, a social mask crafted for survival. Emily, 36, said she was always the perfect daughter, smart, polite, never talked back. But inside she lived with chronic anxiety for years. I don't know who I am if I'm not pleasing others, she shared. I even feel guilty for having my own needs. Behind that persona lives the shadow, the part of the self that was rejected. The swallowed anger, the silent crying behind closed doors, the longing to rebel, to be seen, to be fully you. But what is rejected does not disappear. It returns in dreams, in repetitive relationships, in the quiet insecurity that haunts your love life. You may have moved out of your mother's house long ago, but if you still hear a voice inside that says, "You're not good enough. Who will love you if you're like this? You must sacrifice. Don't be selfish," then you haven't truly left the inner image of your mother. Jung called this the mother complex, a network of memories, emotions, and internalized images of the mother embedded deep in the unconscious. It is alive like a character in your mind, and it continues to influence how you love, how you react, and how you define your self-worth. Tracy, a twice-divorced woman, shared during therapy, "I always fall for men who can't love me back. I keep thinking if I just do enough, they'll choose me. Just like my mother who only smiled at me when I got straight A's." This is how the mother complex takes over your life, causing you to repeat old wounds in new relationships as if hoping to heal the past through the present. The attachment styles you develop with your mother shape all of your adult relationships. Anxious attachment, constant fear of abandonment, overgiving, easily exploited. Avoidant attachment, fear of intimacy, emotionally distant, overly self-controlled. Disorganized attachment, craving love, yet terrified of closeness, chaotic and confused. Which one do you see in yourself? Jung once wrote, "Wounds don't disappear with time, they only change form." The unmet hunger for love at age 3 can become love addiction at age 30. You are not broken, you are still trying to find what you once lacked. Naming the truth, not to blame, but to be free. Naming the mother wound is not about blaming, it's about finally seeing clearly. And only when you see clearly can you begin to separate yourself from it. Your mother too was once a wounded child. Perhaps she was never loved the right way either. Maybe she's just repeating what she learned. But healing is not about forgiving others. It's about no longer letting them live rent-free in your mind. Try this exercise. Write down 3 sentences your mother used to say that hurt you. Then write 3 things you wish she had said to you as a child. That's your emotional map, the exact areas you need to begin nurturing in yourself. Do you remember the last time you truly felt like yourself? Not when you were trying to make your mother proud, not when you were pleasing someone else, but simply when you felt peace because you were allowed to exist. That's where healing begins. You don't need your mother to change. You don't need an apology. What you need is another version of you, your inner mother who knows how to love and listen. And you can learn to become that for yourself. You are not alone. If any sentence in this video stirred something inside you, leave a comment. Even if it's just, "I'm beginning." Let yourself be seen and you'll begin to see others too. We don't heal alone. We heal in communities where we are seen. Up next, I'll guide you deeper into the great mother archetype, how it shapes how you love, how you sacrifice, and that invisible voice in your head, the one you've mistaken for your own, the unconscious mother image and your attachment style. There's a truth most people don't dare admit. We don't love from our mature hearts, we love from our childhood wounds. The love we give, the emotions we feel are all shaped by one invisible yet deeply dominant presence, the inner image of our mother. Carl Jung called this the archetype of the great mother, a primal symbol embedded in the collective unconscious. She is not just your biological mother. She is the psychological embodiment of the nurturing principle, but also of oppression, control, and darkness. Inside each of us, this mother image exists alongside our real memories. One side holds light, warmth, support, unconditional acceptance. The other, darkness, criticism, abandonment, suffocation, control. The problem is, if you grew up with wounds from your real mother, this archetypal image gets distorted. What you carry inside isn't an ideal mother, it's the dark mother. A voice inside your head whispering that you're never good enough, that you must constantly prove yourself, that abandonment is always one misstep away. The 4 psychological attachment styles. The clearest result of a wounded inner mother is the development of attachment styles. Each style is a survival strategy shaped in childhood and repeated in adult relationships. Anxious attachment. This comes from a mother who was emotionally inconsistent, warm one day, distant the next. The child learns that love can vanish at any moment, so they cling desperately to keep it. As adults, they overlove text obsessively and panic when their partner doesn't respond. They squeeze love so tightly, it suffocates. To them, love isn't a refuge, it's a battlefield where every silence feels like rejection. Avoidant attachment raised by a cold or dismissive mother, this child learned emotions were trouble. They internalized that closeness equals danger. As adults, they seem fiercely independent, fear commitment, and often disappear when emotions intensify. They don't avoid love, they avoid the pain of once being left alone. When you get close, they pull away. When you need them, they go silent, not because they don't love, but because love reminds them of being left behind. Disorganized attachment. When the mother is both a source of love and fear through abuse, scolding, or emotional volatility, the child is torn, should I run toward her or run away? They grow up trapped in contradiction, craving intimacy while fearing it. These adults fall into toxic relationships, mistrust, and emotional chaos. To them, love is a maze. The more they seek the way out, the deeper they get lost. Secure attachment. This develops when a mother or caregiver is emotionally stable, present, and never punishes emotions. These children grow up believing, I matter, love is safe, I am enough. They love from fullness, not to fill a void. They don't control, run, or demand too much. They simply know they are worthy. Reflection. Which attachment style are you living with? Do you constantly feel like you have to work hard not to be abandoned? Do you keep your distance even while in love? Do you fear getting hurt so much you shut out love completely? Leave a emoji in the comments to share your style. Someone reading your comment might recognize themselves too and feel less alone. Why this matters: because attachment doesn't just affect romantic love. It touches your friendships, your parenting, your work dynamics, and your relationship with yourself. And the most important thing is it can change. When you begin to observe the inner mother image, not to blame, but to see clearly, you unlock the ability to rewire your emotional patterns at the root. You stop chasing love to feel whole. You start returning home to yourself and nurturing what was once missing. But if the mother image in you has been swallowed by darkness, how do you recover the original light? How do you separate your real mother from your psychological mother? How do you escape the shadow that whispers every day, you're not enough, you have to try harder? In the next chapter, we'll enter the symbolic realm of the Great Mother to understand why Jung believed this. To heal the mother wound, we don't need our mother to change. We need to change the mother's image inside our psyche. The inner mother and her symbolic darkness. There is a mother whose face we never clearly see yet, whose voice we hear every day. She lives inside our mind like a psychological shadow that never leaves. Jung called this the Great Mother, the Cosmic Mother, a powerful archetype embedded deep in the collective unconscious. She has two sides: the light mother, nurturing, protective, healing, and the dark mother, controlling, paralyzing, suffocating the soul. If we only know the light side of the mother, we will never fully understand the roots of our hidden wounds. In countless myths and fairy tales, the devouring mother appears: the witch in Hansel and Gretel, the stepmother in Cinderella, the many-headed Hydra in Greek mythology, always trying to keep the child close, instilling fear of the outside world, and robbing them of their individual identity. Sophie, a 35-year-old woman, once shared with me, I never feel like I'm enough. Every time I want to do something just for me, I hear this voice, so selfish people need you. I thought I was being good, but now I realize I was just a well-behaved child too afraid to live honestly. Sophie spent her youth trying to please her mother, a woman who was gentle in manner, but harsh in judgment. And when her mother died, she disappeared from the outside world, but became louder than ever inside Sophie's psyche. This is the very essence of what Jung called the mother complex, a complex of emotions, memories, and inner voices that make us live as if our mother is still controlling every breath. And here's the paradox: those most deeply affected by the mother complex rarely realize they're playing a role. They think they're making their own choices, but in truth, they are unconsciously obeying the internalized image of mother. In analytical psychology, this is called identification with the shadow, when we no longer know where we end and the past begins. We love, but we are not free. We care for others, but abandon ourselves. To break free, we must do something that feels counterintuitive. We must separate ourselves from the mother inside our head. This isn't about rebelling against her. It's about recognizing this is her and this is me. That's the first step in individuation, bringing the light of awareness into the shadowy places where the mother, father, and societal images have lived in us since childhood. Jung once wrote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The mother complex, if unseen, becomes that fate, repeating toxic relationships, choosing the wrong people, and living in self-blame simply for daring to be different. So how do we separate? First, we listen for the inner mother's voice. Sit quietly and notice the judgments you often say to yourself. Girls shouldn't behave like that. Being a mother means sacrifice. Better stay quiet than make a scene. Is that really your voice or someone else's echo? Next, bring her image from the unconscious into the light. Write, draw. Describe how she feels to you, not how she looked. Maybe she's a towering mother blocking the sky, a dry voice that never comforted, eyes that never truly looked at you. When we can personify the inner mother, we can finally speak to her instead of letting her silently direct our life. And here's the miracle. When you dare to separate from the mother within you, don't lose her, you finally meet yourself. Because the inner mother doesn't need to be destroyed, she needs to transform from the devouring mother to the nurturing mother, from terrible to tender. If you've ever heard your inner mother's voice, drop a in the comments so we know we're not walking this path alone. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into inner soul healing practices to reconstruct the mother within, transforming her from a source of pain into a source of healing. Let's walk this journey together. Healing practice, rebuilding the inner mother. One of the deepest truths in analytical psychology is this: we cannot change the past, but we can change how the past lives within us. When your inner mother has become a voice of judgment, control, or emotional suffocation, healing is not just about understanding, it's about reconstructing through living symbolic and consistent practice. Jung called this a part of the individuation process, the journey of encountering the repressed and forgotten parts of the unconscious and bringing them into conscious awareness. No longer letting the shadow rule from a distance, but inviting it forward, engaging it, and integrating it. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Carl Jung. So how do we reconstruct the inner mother? Write a letter. Not to send, but to speak. Write a letter to your mother. It doesn't need to be pretty logical or edited, just honest. Write all the things you never dared say, the anger, the grief, the longing, even the gratitude if it's there. This is how the inner voice surfaces. When you read it back, you might notice words that aren't yours, they belong to her. Case study: Jessica, 41, wrote a letter after 6 therapy sessions and realized that her entire adult life was shaped by one phrase. "I'm disappointed you're not more like me." That phrase became a blueprint for every relationship Jessica kept molding herself to others just to feel loved. When she burned the letter, it wasn't just paper. It was a role that no longer served her. Symbolic visualization. Let the healing mother replace the wounding one. Sit in meditation. Visualize the archetype of the healing mother. Imagine yourself lost in a forest, and then a presence appears, a cosmic mother. She doesn't need a clear face, just a feeling. She embraces you without judgment, without condition. When the good mother is welcomed in the wounded, mother loses her grip. The shadow only controls us when it is our only option. But when we create symbolic alternatives, the unconscious begins to move. From the Red Book. I saw a woman crying and I thought it was me, but it was my mother. Then I understood the tears belonged to her, not to me. Jung used active imagination to speak directly to the image of his mother. That's when the healing began. The empty chair technique, a conversation with the inner mother. Prepare an empty chair. Sit across from it and imagine your mother sitting there. Speak all of it. You don't need to be the good child. She doesn't need to be the perfect mother. Let your inner child speak. Then switch seats. Play her role. Respond not to justify, but to hear. Whose image have you given her? The judge, the martyr, the victim. This isn't about changing your real mother. It's about separating her from the internal figure in your mind. Create an inner safe space. Become your own new mother. One of the most transformative acts is learning how to mother yourself. Not to replace your actual mother, but to care for the inner child who still longs to be seen. Ask yourself each morning, what do I need today? If an ideal mother were here, what would she say to me? What is my inner child afraid of right now? Speak to yourself gently. Record a voice memo when you're feeling calm, something kind, loving, reassuring. Play it back when you feel overwhelmed. That voice that becomes your new inner mother. Healing cannot happen in isolation. A community that's present, silent, and non-judgmental is a vital part of this journey. Share in the comments, I realize this voice doesn't belong to me. Even one sentence can help someone else feel less alone. We are not alone, we just haven't dared to tell our story in our own voice. And if you've followed this far, stay with me for the next chapter. We'll explore how to turn pain into individuation, to become who you truly are, free from any role you were forced to play. Because the goal isn't just forgiveness, it's rewriting your story from the place where your inner light begins. Or returning to the inner mother, active imagination and the path of individuation. In the end, healing the mother wound isn't just about understanding, it's about embodying. The image of your outer mother is just the beginning, the gateway to a deeper symbolic reality Jung called the Great Mother archetype. But how do we truly engage this image, not with logic, but with soul? This is where a foundational Jungian technique comes in: active imagination. Unlike ordinary fantasy, active imagination is a conscious meeting between the ego and other parts of the psyche hidden deep in the unconscious. Jung described spending hours each day entering this inner world, where he met an old man, a serpent, a burning city, a bleeding mother, and a tiny white spirit. How to practice active imagination, especially for mother wound work. Step 1. Silence. Find a quiet, undisturbed space. Sit down, close your eyes, and summon the image of the inner mother. Not your real-life mom, but the symbolic figure in your psyche. She may look like a cold woman, a faceless spirit, or a clinging shadow. That's okay. Step 2. Let her speak. Ask, what do you want from me? Then listen. Write down the answers. If you feel like arguing, do it. This dialogue doesn't need to be rational. It needs to be real. Step 3. Invite another figure. A different part of you might appear: a child, a luminous mother, a father, or a guardian soul. Now the inner space becomes multidimensional, layered with parts of your psyche long forgotten. You don't need to be an artist to sketch these images. Just draw rough outlines. Jung himself illustrated these symbols in the Red Book, where he described his descent into hell and soul rebirth through the darkness. Step 4. Repeat. This isn't a one-time practice. Like training an unconscious muscle, the more you practice, the clearer the images become. And sometimes in dreams, the symbols will return to you. That's how the unconscious starts trusting you. Case story: Erin and the Green Mother. Erin, 42, shared during a workshop that she once saw a green-skinned mother figure sitting in the forest during active imagination. She was both calling out and hissing. Erin nearly left meditation from fear, but stayed. She asked, "Why are you calling me in a way that scares me?" The mother replied, "Because fear is the only language you've ever learned to love through. That's how your mother taught you." Erin wept. After that day, the Green Mother softened. And for the first time, Erin dreamed of hugging her real mother without anger. She wrote her first letter and burned it in the forest. That was her ritual. Reparenting, becoming your own mother. In Jungian depth psychology, individuation doesn't mean rejecting your mother. It means outgrowing the outdated inner image of her. When the mother inside you becomes only control, judgment, or coldness, your soul has no place to grow. That's when becoming your own mother becomes a sacred act. Visualize coming home. You meet your younger self, those eyes, that fragility. You as you are now, embrace that child. Say the words you always wished your mother had said. Do it daily. This isn't pretending, it's how the unconscious relearns the language of love. Jung said no one becomes enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Reparenting is how we bring that inner light back from within. No one should walk this path alone. Mother wounds carry immense weight because they are tied to our very survival. That's why they're hidden so deeply. But when you write, when you speak, when you share, you break the silence that has haunted generations. Let the comments below be your sacred space. Even one sentence, "I met my inner mother for the first time," is enough to ripple through another soul's awakening. Because when you write it, you're not just writing for yourself. You're writing for everyone who's still searching for the words. This journey doesn't end with mother, it leads to love. Because when the image of the mother is healed, your way of loving transforms. You no longer love to be rescued, you love to be present. And in the next part, we'll explore how love, sexuality, and deep connection are reborn when you finally step out from the shadow of the old mother. This journey isn't just about mother, it's about your soul. We don't journey into the unconscious just to heal the inner mother. We go there to rebirth something deeper, a version of ourselves that can love without fear, that can be present without needing to be perfect, that can truly belong to ourselves. Jung once wrote, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." And in this journey, you're not just stepping out of your mother's shadow, you're walking toward your own light. If you still feel pain along the way, remember, pain is not your enemy. It's a doorway. Sometimes pain is the first teacher that teaches you how to hold yourself like the mother you once longed for. And if this video moved you to tears, stirred something, or awakened a deep knowing, don't brush it aside. Let the comment section below be where you place it. Write it down for yourself, and for the women and men who are also on this path of healing the mother wound. Even one small sentence is enough. Something like, "I'm beginning to see the mother within me more clearly," or "I'm ready to become the mother I never had." Your words may become the candle that lights the way for someone else. If this video helped you reconnect with yourself, consider subscribing, not for the algorithm, but because you found something that resonates with your soul. Every video here is not just content, it is a ritual, a quiet form of love. And if there's still a part of you that's angry at your mother, still unable to forgive, still wants to scream, please know this. You're not wrong. You don't need to forgive today, but keep looking at that wound gently. That's how the light gets in. Because the soul doesn't heal through logic. It heals through symbol, through personal truth, through community and courage. You are not alone. We are a web of awakening souls, one breath at a time, one wound at a time, learning how to love all over again. See you in the next chapter, where love is no longer carrying the wound of the mother, but becomes a new land where you can be fully present.